How's everybody doing? I'm Quentin Jones with ProfitCannon Marketing, and I'm so excited about today. Um, and I'd like to, we're going to wait a couple of minutes and see if we can get a few more people on, and then we'll get started with the webinar. So if you're watching, go ahead and start sharing. Go ahead and start sharing so we can get more people on here. And then if you're also here with us, go ahead and place a comment down below. Just say hey. Say, hey Leah, how you doing? That's my beautiful wifey, y'all. That's my better half. I can't do anything without her. So we're gonna wait just a couple of minutes and we'll go ahead and get started with everything. So I'm gonna be sharing my screen and we're gonna go from there. Let's see. Invite a few people. Yeah. Yeah, I see. Okay, I see a few more views. Yeah, if you're here, go ahead and comment down below and say hey. We'll give it just another minute or so, and then we'll go ahead and get started with everything. So, and then if you don't know who I am, my name is Quentin Jones, and I'm the owner of ProfitCannon Marketing. And as we all know, it's Black History Month, and I'm extremely excited about Black History Month. It's an important month of the year where we celebrate Black history. And with ProfitCannon Marketing, we're a marketing agency. So being a marketing agency, we help businesses grow, whether it's help building websites, help doing marketing, advertising, and then that's our thing. And then so on the part of Black history that we want to focus on, a lot of Black entrepreneurs of the past, because some you might today, so you'll hear about some entrepreneurs you do know, maybe some entrepreneurs you don't know. So today I like to go through that because there's a lot of entrepreneurs throughout history that made a lot of differences and set the path for us. And then some of them are talked about more than others because yes, Lord knows we admire Martin Luther King and a lot of other people, and then there's some people that are not as well known. And then what I like to do when I talk about Black history, I go even further back, as far back as I can in history, to people that we don't know as much about. Some people that's not really talked about. So we'll give it just another minute, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, and I'm about to share my screen. Give me just a second. All right, here we go. Right there. Let's give it one more minute. We'll start at 2:05. See if we can help bring some more views in. And I'm happy it is Saturday, and it's really nice outside, man. It's freaking cold, but on the flip side, it's a really really nice and sunny day outside. I'm glad it's not raining. We've been dealing with a lot of rain down here, so I'm happy that we get some sunshine. I'm ready for it to get warmer again, actually. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. This is a webinar. It's Black Entrepreneurs in History. So this is sponsored by our company, which is ProfitCannon Marketing. So yeah, and of course guys, be patient with me. You guys give me just a second. So we love Black History Month. I've got a few different pictures in here. Just saying, hey, we want to support our Black businesses. We're going to support all businesses, especially our Black businesses. I have pictures of different, throughout history, you have so many Black businesses. You have so many businesses that help made an impact in history, or somebody had to jump and have faith they have to jump and have faith to say, okay, I know it's crazy. We got a lot of racial division in the country, got a lot of things going on, but with all that set aside, I want to be successful. So, so that's the thing, about it. You want to be successful. You really want to make things work. And throughout history, we have so many different examples of people who have made a big difference, in our lives to help show the way on how to be successful. So, who are we? Again, we are the name of our company is called ProfitCannon Marketing. So, what we do, we're a web design and development company. So, we help do business development. We help do web design. We've worked with many different companies to help them grow, to help them improve, and we've made a lot of difference. And we're going to keep on growing to the point to where to where we can touch a lot of people, not just locally, but around the country. So, we help with sales development, cash flow, project management, strategic planning, you name it. We can help you with that. And then upcoming soon, we're gonna launch our virtual business training session. So if you're having issues and you're trying to grow your business and you need help in a certain area, you can hire us to help you. We'll give you personalized business coaching. So so with that being said, that's really, really good to help grow businesses. And then we also have a couple of events coming up. So now we're going to do a virtual business consulting sessions, which you will also do. We'll also build your website for you. We'll help get you started on the right path. And let's see. And then we help do virtual pop-up shops as well. So, like on the 12th, on February the 12th, 2022, we have we have our first virtual pop up shop. It's gonna be very, very great. We have a couple people that signed up already, a couple vendors, and we're hoping to get a lot more. So we welcome you to go ahead and come on and join our. If you or someone that has their own business and want to promote it, and you want to do it from the safety of your own home, go ahead and do that and sign up. I'll put a link down here below that where you can go ahead and sign up for the virtual pop up shop. So you guys give me just a second, and I'll do that for you. It'll take me a second to pull it up. So we're gonna definitely help promote these businesses and help them get on the right path. Let's see. So, okay, so here's the link that I'm about to post in here now. And so what it does is it's only $35 to join, to be a vendor. And then so what that includes is I can set you up with a free business consulting session where we can kind of give you a few business tips. And then also once you pay the $35, it's automatically going to direct you to our vendor form where you can fill out our vendor form, and it helps you out on that end as well. So so there you go. So that's it there. So so yeah, please come on and join us. Yeah, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna introduce a lot of our people. It's just gonna be good. And then something else we could do too is that you can if you have somebody in Black history that you admire, hey, bring them up. Talk about them and why do you admire them? Like so think about that on that end. All right. So the first person that we want to talk about is Jesse Binger. Jesse Binger is the very first Black banker, and his story was very interesting to me because he's been through a lot from having his own bank. He was an entrepreneur. He was the first Black banker in Chicago. So like it's just insane. So y'all give me just a second to pull up some more stuff. Let's see, like so I have a few things, a few notes about him. So like he yeah so Jesse Bringer he rose from poverty to one of the wealthiest African American entrepreneur and bankers in Chicago, and this was like in the in the like late 19th century. He earned him a national reputation. So, let's see. And he was born in 1865 and then he died in 1950. So, and then especially, a black owner in that time frame, especially trying to own a bank because it was very, very hard for black people at the time to be able to, go to banks, cash checks, be able to do that sort of thing. And then he helped create that opportunity. So that's one thing about business is that you want to be able to create opportunities for people. You want to help, build people. You want to, if there's a need to be able to fill it, and that's one thing that I'm big on is be able to fill that need, and then one thing that I've been better at and that I want to keep getting better at is being more and more consistent. Being consistency is the key. So yeah, Bingo, he was born on April 10th, 1865 in Detroit. His father was named William W. Binker, and he was a barber and a native, of Canada. And then his mother was named excuse me, I'm not the best at names here. Excuse Adelphia Lewis Binger, and then the owner of extensive property in Detroit. So the thing about Binger, he actually dropped out of high school, you know, and then and he collected the rent of his one of his mother's property in Detroit. So Bingo, he worked as a Pullman porter during that time, and then in Idaho. Let's see, yes, we got and then if you're new and you're still coming in, go ahead and look, hit like or comment. So Benga he settled in Chicago in 1893, and his first real estate ventures were relatively, like he began purchasing like rundown buildings, repairing them, and renting them. So by like 1908, Benga had built enough wealth that he was able to establish a private bank. Man, can you believe? Like, just think about. We talk about how hard it was, like when you're dealing with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. We talked about it, but this guy, this is even earlier than that. This is like in 1908. That's what stood out of this story. He's making investments. We watch all the time where we'll see homeowners where you take down an old home, rebuild it, resell it, and he did the same thing back in this time. And then he was able to build enough wealth to do a private bank, and then he was also married, as well. And so like as the African American population in Chicago began to grow in the first 2 decades of the 20th century in the early 1900s, Benga opened a Benga State Bank. It was like in 1921 with deposits over 200 million. I mean, excuse me, 200,000. So, but basically, that is like millions of dollars in our days money. That's a lot. So, like when in 3 years, the bank had deposited over 1.3 million, and then the owner of the Southside Chicago properties was also leading at it at the time for philanthropist. So Benga, what he did was he helped provide a bank. He provided a state bank, provided Chicago's African American community with the option of not just rely on other white owned banks at the time. With the discrimination, a lot of different things going on. He was able to be that standout. So Benga, that that really stands out to me. So if you're watching, go ahead, comment, let me know what you think. Um, yeah, go ahead and comment, let me know what you think. So, yeah, I mean, just think that owning a bank in this time, this early, and and this thing, and you have to have the intelligence and the persistence to go through it, and it's just insane how that went. So, and then, so that covers Jessica Binger. Now, the next person that I want to talk about is somebody we all have heard of before. In fact, this woman has been known all across America, and then she even had a show on Netflix called Self Made. So, with that being said, is Madam C.J. Walker. She was very, she was very motivated. She was at home. She really wanted to be an entrepreneur, and one thing, she was very, very consistent. She was very, very consistent in what she did. And so with that being said, she created her own products, and then created her own products. She wanted to help women, black women hair. Again, that's a niche. Something where she said, this is a hole in the market that needed to be fixed. And what was funny is she wasn't the only one that was doing it at the time. There was a woman named Annie Holler who was actually doing it. Annie Holler, who was actually doing it before Madam C.J. Walker, Madam C.J. Walker actually got some of her ideas from her. So it's kind of like a little deal they had going on. So it's just amazing, like I said, you had the first person. If you're just coming on, hey, comment, let me know that you're here. Yeah, you had Jesse Binger, who's the first black banker in Chicago. That's somebody you don't hear about often. And then you have Madam C.J. Walker, who helped women with their hair, and she was growing and growing. It's just amazing to me. I remember when I heard about her for the first time, I'm like, wow, like she was the first black woman millionaire, not just well, actually first woman millionaire period, not just black woman but woman period. And she made a difference in a lot of people's lives. And that's what business is about. It's about going in, making a difference in somebody's life. Is That's what God put us here for, with a purpose, not just to work, make money, and die, but to really make a difference in someone. I was watching a sermon, and it was just showing the importance of good decision making, saying like, if the decisions I make can affect my family, which can affect the community, which which can affect the city and the state and the country. It's just that that's how important decisions are. So she made the decision that she wanted to be an entrepreneur. She wanted to be an entrepreneur, and she said, I'm not going to rest until I do. And then that was the thing with her. So yeah, so it's just, and then her products are still exist. So after she passed, her daughter, and now her her granddaughter, and now I think her great granddaughter are still running the business. So she left that legacy for her family. So even though she's gone, that it's just that the business still moves forward. So so that's important here. So I'm gonna share my screen again and show her website. And then hey, if you seen it on, oh yeah, I didn't hear about him either, but yeah, it's just like that was, yeah, Leah. I never heard of him either, and I was like, I saw him, I was like, wow. I said, this is crazy. I've never heard of a black this black banker back then. And I said, that's crazy to me. Let's see. Let me go to Madam C.J. Walker's website. All right, there it is. All right, so as you can see, this is the website where it talks about her life, and then they sell books, with her, and then they have the show on Netflix called Self Made. So hey, I'm sure most of us have Netflix. So if you have a Netflix account, go in there and watch it, and then read a little bit more about her, and then you could tell by her picture that she was a real strong-minded woman. You could tell, that she had one mindset, and that was success. And we have to have that same mindset, and sometimes it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail a couple times, but if one thing doesn't work, you have to, try something else. I've tried a few different things to try to, really make things work. So I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Leah. But yeah, yeah, you have to. It's just, if one thing doesn't work, try another thing. It's just like I had my business with Jones Company, Jones Tech Solutions, and it can work, but it's just something that I said, well, this can work, but it's just that I need something I'm a little bit more passionate about, something I know that can work. And then not too long after that, I started ProfitCannon Marketing. And then this is the most successful business I've had, but it's still not where it's not where I want it to be, but it's still going to be consistent of where it needs to be. And then like, Madam CJ Walker, let's see, growing up the way she grew up. Let's see. I'm gonna play just a minute of this little video here. Well, we'll see if the ad comes in. Let's see, I'm gonna play just a minute of this video. Let's see. You give me just a second.
Anything to it to make it.
Grammarly Business offers
With the ads.
AI-powered writing assistance for your enterprise needs.
Okay, say goodbye to that.
Unruly if it's just born like that. If a
It's an
person
article.
had a dream in order to make a product, it was just as much a miracle as anything else.
Madam Walker was working for Schultz. He was a wholesale druggist in Denver. And she was making extra money on the side selling Madame Porot's work. He saw it one day and asked her what it was. And she told him, and he says, I can analyze this for you, and you can leave out some or put in more, and you can make the money yourself. So she got a can of it and handed it to him and gave him, and he did just that. And that is how she really got her start with this growing of hair.
However, Madam Walker came upon her dream. Her formula was a success.
And one thing led to another. It's just like she was saying in this video, she said there was nobody that didn't know about her at the time. And a lot of people wanted that product at first. And, and it's about the marketing, it's about the strategy, and it's about the passion for the business. Because you can, it's one thing to make money, but it's one thing to love what you do and have that passion for it while making money at the same time. So keep commenting down below. Let me know what you guys think about Madam CJ Walker, or do you know someone else that we could just talk about? Well, just let me know. So yeah, she was very important to history. So another woman that we want to talk about is Maggie Lee Walker. So this is like a picture of her when she was much younger. She was born in July 15th, 1864, and then she died December 15th, 1934. And she's another powerful woman in history that made a lot of, that made a big difference. Let's see, I think I gotta add something up on her too. But either way, she stood out because at the time, women didn't have as many rights as they do now. So, so that was another thing that could have held her back and said, well, I'm a woman, I don't have as many rights. But, she had a goal and she went towards it. So, Magdalena Walker, she was an African-American entrepreneur and a civil leader who broke traditional gender, laws by becoming the first Black woman to establish and become president of a bank in the United States. It was the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank in Richmond. And as of 2010, it was known, as Consolidated Bank and Trust. So she had her own bank, like she was the president of her own bank, kind of like Jesse Binger, that we was talking about earlier. He was the first Black bank in Chicago, and she had her own bank as well. So with that being said, it's crazy, at the time, she was, she's independent. She was the owner. Let's see, I had something I wanted to show you guys about her. It was like a short little video. Y'all give me just a second. Yeah, but yeah, she was strong-minded as well. Let's see. I'm about to share my screen again. So this is Maggie L. Walker.
A woman could not even visit a voting booth and choose her government representative. And a black woman? Well, that was one more step down. She had to take a back seat to everybody. So imagine what it was like to be a fly on the wall in Richmond in 1925 and see Maggie Walker leading a meeting of the board of directors of the company she owned. Maggie Walker giving the orders to men. Maggie Walker building a business. Maggie Walker creating a legacy of success that would last 100 years and more. Maggie Walker took the stereotype of a black woman in the early 20th century and laid it to waste. Maggie Walker's accomplishments were not just worthy for women or African Americans, but her achievement set the standard for all Americans.
Industry, business, capitalism. These are universal truths about our American culture. That's how our modern economy was built. In the early 20th century, segregation created an entirely separate.
And once they get those roles, then the classes start to vary more. And then you have the emergence of this elite African American class.
Maggie Walker was one of the first women in the United States and the first African American woman to create a bank. Even more impressive is that the bank she started in the 20th century is still running strong in the 21st century. This Richmond woman was born into poverty, but valued education, her faith, and hard work above anything else. She used those qualities to gain her financial independence and elite status, which helped her open doors for others. The origin of Consolidated Bank and Trust Company was an African-American self-help organization called the Independent Order of St. Luke.
It was started by a woman named Mary Prout in 1867 in Baltimore. And it was started as a secret society providing those benefits. And then as the decades went on, the organization grew. It provided more streamlined insurance, membership grew and things like that. And on until the 1890s, the membership declined, the funds were in the hole basically. And then someone nominated Maggie Walker to be the leader, the right-worthy grand secretary of the organization, and she took that role in 1899.
Mrs. Walker met the obstacles of poverty and segregation with a deft creativity. When she took charge of St. Luke, the organization had only $32 in assets and more than $400 in debt. She worked with other St. Luke chapters to sell stock in the organization to raise money to buy a building. She founded the St. Luke Herald, which publicized the social struggles African Americans suffered under segregation. In 1903, she founded the St. Luke Penny Bank, leading the organization profitably and lifting her community. She also ensured the bank would last for generations by merging with another bank to become Consolidated Bank and Trust.
She urged African Americans to start their own businesses, and one of the ways in which she implemented that was starting that bank, the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank. And in that way, she was able to provide loans to African Americans so that they could acquire property and start their own businesses. And she saw through to the end that what she was preaching, this African American sustainability, was actually working.
These success stories put Maggie in demand as a public speaker. And every opportunity she had, she pushed African Americans to invest in their own community.
And then that's exactly what we got to do today. And yes, so in the video that answered your question about is the bank still open, is yes. The bank is actually still open and is strong today. On here, I read where it says it still operates today at the corner of the 1st and Marshall Streets. like in Richmond. So yep, our banks are still going, and it's still strong. So it's just amazing, you see the picture here that, she was given an assignment and then she made the best of it. She turned it into a bank, and she touched so many people's lives. And that's just you can see it in this picture, but her legacy still lives on. And that's, they talk about her a little bit, but they don't talk about her as much as they could talk about her. So, so she was definitely, to me, a standout, in that regard, because she was a, businesswoman, and then she was a teacher. So, that's what was important about her, and then also she was like a newspaper publisher as well. So that was insane, so she, let's see, because she was, because she was born in Richmond, Virginia. She left a very powerful legacy. But yeah, like, if you guys still on, comment, let me know you're here. Let's see, y'all give me just a second. Just a second, get myself together. All right, this is someone, another person in history that I want to talk about. His name is Robert Abbott. I didn't want to mess up his middle name, so I said, yeah, I'll just stick it Robert Abbott. So he's another important entrepreneur. He started, he was born in November 24th, 1868. 1868. And then he died February 29th, 1940. So, so with him, he was basically in newspapers. So what he did was, so in 1905, he founded the Chicago Defender with an initial investment of 25 cents. So the Defender, which was once it was like the world's greatest weekly, soon became like the widely, known black newspaper in the country. Made, he was like one of the first self-made, millionaire of African descent at the time. So that was extremely. So I'm gonna read a little bit more about him. He was an African lawyer. He's a newspaper publisher. So like he was born in Simons, Georgia. And then he had freedmen parents who'd been enslaved before the American Civil War. So the Sea Islands were a place, of Gilligan people of American descent. Let's see, you guys give me a second. Just a second. So, all right, the screen freezing up. But look at this real quick. But can you believe he started the business with only 25 cents? He said he started his business with 25 cents. I know that's shoot. I wish I could start a big old building with only 25 cents in today's money, but everything is inflation. But he started the Chicago Defender, and then that was insane to me, that he did that. Let's see. Oh yeah, and there's this video I want to let you guys watch. You guys give me just a second. Real short video.
Robert S. Abbott, one of the first African-American self-made millionaires, was the founder of the Chicago Defender, which became known as America's black newspaper. Mr. Abbott started the Chicago Defender in 1905 with an initial investment of 25 cents. His newspaper became the most widely circulated black newspaper in the country. The slogan he established for his paper, "American race prejudice must be destroyed," reflected his belief about what the ideal experience should be for black Americans or any American. He used the pages of the Chicago Defender to not only encourage people to migrate north for a better life, but also fight for an even better lifestyle once they arrive. The newspaper's columns helped to bring about the great migration of black Americans from the rural South to northern industrial centers, which had an abundant need of workers to manufacture goods for World War I. By 1916, the Chicago Defender's circulation reached 50,000. It climbed to 125,000 by 1918 and achieved an unprecedented 200,000 by the early 1920s. This incredible increase in circulation resulted from Mr. Abbott's superb strategy of using the nationwide network created by the Black Pullman Company Railroad Porters.
Wow. And you know how it's funny how when you can compare today's entrepreneurs to like entrepreneurs like him, you know, you have people who are on TikTok or Facebook who will get like 1 million followers like that, you know, and then him, you know, back then when you had the newspaper, you had to kind of build it up, you know, for subscribers, you know, as far as people buying the newspaper. And then with his newspaper and then with businesses itself, it's just about, you know, helping people grow along with you, you know, and he helped business, you know, help people. The paper was to help, you know, black people as far as to help get the news out, to help, you know, migrate to the north, to help do a lot of different things, you know, to help with a better life. And then that was his contribution. So that was more about him. So anybody have opinions about anything, hey, feel free to comment. So just a second. So someone else that I want to talk about that doesn't really, you don't hear too much about often. His name is Samuel T. Wilcox. So let's see. Yeah, I know it is an awesome startup. I know that's right. Shoot, I like to get a building for $1. I said, yeah, I get started right now. Shoot, so Samuel T. Wilcox. Here's a picture of him. And then a picture of his business. He was like he kind of, in a sense, like he had his own grocery store in a sense. And then you see his grave, you know. So this is he was in the 18th century. So this is like from 1825 to 1896. So that's how long he was alive, from 1825 to 1896. So about him, he was a retail and wholesale grocery store owner in Cincinnati. He turned out to be the first established quality grocery store, and he was selling high quality dry fruit, ham, soaps, and you know other things in that nature. So he laid out that grocery store was featured, you know, attracted many customers, and some say that he had the extensive business, like a extensive business house. And it was kind of like more of an appearance, you know, of a store rather than a grocery store. And then he quickly became like the largest dealer in the provisions in the city and established commercial links to, you know, with New Orleans and New York. And then by the mid 1850s, he had mostly rich customers contributing to his 140,000 year annual sales. So in today's world, you know, that's about, you know, 4.2 million in our day. So, you know, just, you know, so he, you know, and this is like early years, you know, remember this is in the early 1800s, you know, we talk about the early 1900s, we talk about, you know, 1960s, but this guy is in the 1800s, you know, making it work, getting 140K. I mean, that's insane to me. That's motivation to me. I'm like, he has his own grocery store and he's really killing it. You know, and that's an entrepreneur that you don't hear about. And then I still think about how hard it was for them back in the day when certain stuff that we want, you know, it's hard. And then it's like a different type of hard. You know, back then you kind of had to do word of mouth. You have to do certain things. And in today's standard, it's like social media. It's just attracting that person, attracting that the right audience, and getting the perfect customer. And then, you can, is his store still open? No, I don't think his store is still open. I'll look to double check, but I don't think it is. Not his. But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, this is the 1800s. So let's see. Now, the next person I want to talk about is this is somebody we all know. This is somebody we definitely all know, and we all hear about a lot. But he's an important businessman, and I feel like his guy had so much intelligence that if I had a time machine, there's no question that I would go back and talk to this guy. Yeah. I agree with you on that, but some of these entrepreneurs still got certain things that are still going today. Like Madam C.J. Walker. Her business is still going. Her grandkids are still making it work. Maggie. Her business is still it's still here. So, but what's good about it is they left a legacy for us to follow. And this person I'm gonna talk about is somebody we all know, very motivational. And then, if I'm not mistaken, Madam C.J. Walker met this person. If I'm not mistaken, I talked to him. So, what this person is of course no other than Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington. He's a business owner, extremely high intelligent man. And then he was the owner of the National Negro Business League, and that's something that I really liked. And if I was there at the time, there's no doubt that I would be a part of that organization. So it's, I mean, he created that. I saw the pictures where he had still so many different business owners coming together, and he had black different businessmen on the board. He taught, he walked. It's so many things that you could say about him that we just don't have time to cover it all. But like in April 5th, he was born in April 5th, 1856. 1856. I mean, just think, man, we in 2022 and we're still talking about these people, man. I mean, that just amazes me, that we're still talking about him and as well as the others, and that's how big an impact that we're in 2022. He was born in 1856, and I still got his picture up right here. And then in November 14, 1915, that's when he passed, was in 1915. So with that being said, let's see. I'm gonna play this little short video real quick.
Without question, Booker T. Washington was the single most well-known African-American of his time and may have been the most celebrated Black person in the entire world.
Future educator and orator, Booker T. Washington was born a slave on a Virginia plantation on April 5, 1856.
He had to work as a young child, and so he had to juggle hours walking miles and miles to school and then rush back to work. It was very difficult, but he was determined, and that's how he learned to read and write.
Washington was allowed to attend school while working as a servant. And in 1872, he befriended the founder of Hampton Institute, who offered him a scholarship to the school.
The emphasis at school was on industrial education, on crafts, on technical skills, teaching Blacks and the former slaves how to make themselves valuable to the community in a very literal way.
Washington taught at Hampton before being appointed by General Samuel Armstrong to head the newly formed institute in Tuskegee in 1881.
This was a groundbreaking endeavor because Armstrong trusted this young man to go to Alabama and create something basically out of nothing.
During the post-Reconstruction period, tensions between African Americans and Southern whites were at a fever pitch. But as evidence of racial progress, Washington was asked to address a predominantly white audience at the 1895 Atlanta Expo. The speech turned Washington into a national figure.
The Atlanta Compromise speech is viewed as controversial because he essentially said that politics was for mainstream society and the thing for African Americans was to be separate as the fingers on.
I mean, he helped start schools. I mean, he helped so many millions around the globe. He's done so many different things. And then especially him walking miles to school and taking advantage of opportunities, like, having a scholarship. He really made a difference and did the right connections. And I mean, this is in the late 1800s, man. And then I had to, I got lucky. It took a lot of time to find. But I don't have it up right now. But I was able to hear his voice because it's just like because it was so long ago, and I was just like, man, I said, I want to do. Is there any way we can hear his voice? And then I did. The voice was very. I couldn't. It was hard to make it out at first because it was really, 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 really choppy. But we was able to help make that work. But yeah, I mean he started the National Negro Business League like in 1900. So that was a big thing on its own, let alone the rest of the things he did. It was founded by Booker T. Washington. It was in Boston, Massachusetts in 1900. The league, it predated the United States Chamber of excuse me, I can't talk. Excuse me. By 12 years, like the Chamber for the United States, it predated by 12 years. And then it was formally incorporated in 1901 in New York and established like hundreds of chapters across the United States. So if you actually look it up, you have because I remember seeing like it was in Georgia where I think they have it. Like they had the National Negro Business League, and then like they had one that was incorporated in Washington D.C. and then they renamed the National Business League later on. And then Booker T. Washington believed that the solution to the problem of racial discrimination was primarily economic, and that the African American entrepreneur was vital. Thus, he founded the league to further, the economic development of the African American businesses in order to achieve social equality, in American, society. Like what Dr. King and talked about, like being able to be lawyers, farmers, doctors, business owners, to be able to have those opportunities. And then what I liked about these business owners is that, I picked this time frame between like the 1800s to the early 1900s because it was even harder for them to have a business and to be successful and to face the controversy. And then that wasn't an excuse because if one thing doesn't work, I always say try something else, and then don't stop until it's successful. And you have Booker T. Washington, you have Madam C.J. Walker, you got Jessica Binga, you have so many different people who were just like, man, look, they had a hard time, they had a real hard time, but it wasn't an excuse. There was black men and black women at the time, but they said, no, this is what I want, this is what I'm going for, and that's how it's going to end. And then because of their decisions, it affected so many other people, especially someone intelligent like Booker T. Washington, if I could be half as intelligent as that guy, I said, look, I'd be set, but hey, I can, if not more. If he was here, he want me to not only know what he knows, but to be better. That's what they wanted for us. And if we, for our kids, the next generation, we want them to be better than us. So, that's extremely important on that sense. So, let's see, give me just a second. Well, we got like three more people, guys. Three more people, and then we'll be done. Let's see. Okay. Me and my wife went to a museum, and I actually saw a video about this guy. And he, like, if I had to say, if I was living in another life, this guy was a lot like me in a sense. Like when I saw his interview and the way he was saying, I said, shoot, we kind of think alike in a certain sense. He was a nice guy, real determined. This guy was born July 4th, on the 4th of July, 1892 to January 1996. And I think we passed the hotel that he owned before. Of course, it's closed now. They were talking about reopening it. But yeah, he owned different things. And of course, he was around in the Martin Luther King era, and then of course, everybody had a different way of thinking. But in the end, they all had good intentions. But he was extremely a nice guy. he did whatever he could to be successful and to help other entrepreneurs as well. So let's see, it was a video interview they did with him not too long before he died. So I'm going to play that for you. That way you don't have to just hear from me, you hear from him himself. Well, everybody else, I haven't been able to play their words specifically. I've been kind of having to, paraphrase a little bit, but let's hear it from the horse's mouth. Well, yeah, work with me. Yes, that's him. Yep, Leah, that's him. That's the same guy. It's buffering. You gotta give me just a second. I'll refresh it. Give me just a second. I think Arthur Gaston.
Okay.
Okay, Jim, it's all yours. Okay, Dr. Gaston, you have been a very successful black man in your career, so that when 1963 came around, why, you were already quite wealthy. So I'm just wondering how you came by your success. If you could just tell us a little bit about that.
I don't know about wealthy I was. I would have been around here a long time, 93 years old, And I worked over there at U.S. Steel for $3.10 a day. So it's a long time before I was wealthy, as you call it.
Well, what was it like for black people in Birmingham before the 1963 demonstrations? Do you remember what?
Pretty tough.
How so?
There were no conveniences, public convenience available to black people on equal basis. Quite a bit of unemployment. You can understand the segregated job situations. They had jobs for white and jobs for black and so forth. Those are the conditions that many of the black folks came through, and some of them survived and made a little money.
Did you, when you looked around at the circumstances that existed for black people in this community, did you feel some sort of responsibility because you had been sort of fortunate in making some money? Did you feel an obligation to do something?
Well, yes, it was all of us in the same part. We were self-survival. But so much it happened myself, it happened the other fellas, so we all could survive. That was my interest in the civil rights movement. It wasn't a selfish movement, it was for all of us. As I say, Arthur Shows did quite a bit of the legal work, but I was fortunate enough to have a little money, and I did the financing, most of it.
Okay, I'd like to ask you, in 1962, they started changing the government over down here.
Yeah.
Mrs. Meyer was a little bit embarrassed about things, and
Yeah.
they began working. Were you involved in some of the plans to change the city government?
Not directly, on it indirectly. As I say, I provided the funds for the civil rights folks who was agitating it, and provided facilities for those civil rights activists, such as Andy Young and those boys who'd come over here, and with the movement with Martin King.
Okay, I'm backing up just a little bit earlier, though, because they were changing the government over. There was a competition between...
Prior to then, they were, yeah.
Did you think that election, if the outcome of that might change Birmingham?
Yeah, I was. I was with David Vann and supported him in his election. He seemed to have been spearheading that movement. I was very active with that group, and Vincent Townsend, who was with the Birmingham News, who was very active. So
How were you active?
Well, I was participating. I was one had a little money, and they kind of accepted me in a way. I was a member of the Chamber of Commerce, along with Arthur Shows.
National
Business
Negro.
I had communication with the leaders.
Okay, now you were involved in the Chamber of Commerce. There was already plans to change the city government, bring in get rid of Bull Connor and some of those people. Didn't you think the change was coming? Didn't you think that maybe Martin Luther King's intervention was unnecessary, or how did you feel about that?
Well, we didn't anticipate the need for Martin King at that time. This Martin King thing came, and all of a sudden, the thing sparked off down at Montgomery with this lady that had the bus problem down there. And then Martin went on over to Atlanta And we had a fellow named Shuttleworth that was raised saying around here. And his idea was to get into the schools. And of course, it was an organization that we supported. And what is this? Trying to think of that organization, the name of the Southern Conference. What is the name of it?
Alabama.
Yeah, that was Shuttleworth movement. See, and I financed them. Well, they had no place to stay when they started bringing in folks from Atlanta and
I'll put a link down here. We can play the rest of it.
Montgomery.
But
And that's when I put them up at the.
But yeah, like one thing he was talking about is just the fact that like he was different. He was a business owner. He wanted to be involved. He wanted to do a whole lot of different things. And now he liked Martin Luther King and he helped finance everything. But one thing he didn't like, he was like, well, I didn't want them to be taken out of school to go protest. But he didn't support that. But everything else, he supported. He had his own hotel. He'd been through different things. To where he have people trying to spray his hotels, because you remember seeing like in movies where you'd have people would take down the hotel and do different things. It's just crazy what he's been through. And let's see, I'm gonna put the link down here of his interview, that way you guys can watch it. Let's see, watch it later. Here you go. There you go. So yeah, that's the link to the rest of his interview. But yeah, he was a nice man. You could tell he was real nice. He was born, and then he was born in Alabama. In 1892. So here, I'm gonna read this little paragraph about him real quick. He says while working in the mines, he hit on the plans of selling lunches to his fellow miners, and then branched into loaning money to them at 25% interest. And then it was also while working the mines that he conceived the idea of offering burial insurance to his coworkers. He had noticed that the mine widows would come to the mines and the local churches to collect donations in order to bury their husbands, and he wondered if people would give a few dimes into burial burial society to bury their dead. And then as a result, Gaston formed, the Booker T. Washington, burial insurance company in 1923, which became the Booker T. Washington Insurance Company in 1932. So and then in 1930, I'll read this one more. He says in 1938, Gaston bought and renovated a property on the edge of Kelly Ingram Park in downtown Birmingham, Alabama. Me and my wife has been there. Where in a partnership with his father-in-law, A.L. Smith, and they started Smith and Gaston's Funeral Home. And Smith and Gaston sponsored gospel music programs on local radio stations and launched a quarter of its own. So you remember it was an excellent museum. You got to go to it in Birmingham. It was very informative, and it just explained a lot of things. And then we were walking by, looking at a few things. We left this one hall to where it was like Martin Luther King. Talking about Martin Luther King, was talking about different things, in a certain time area. And then we was passing through this one little hallway, and it had his video playing. I'm like, who is this guy? I've never heard of him before, but he made, let's see, this if they can do it, we all can do it. But it's just, and I saw his video. I'm like, man, I had to go back and look on my computer, and I said, okay, well, who is this guy? Let me, and then he was just a real nice guy. He had one thing led to another, to where he was wealthy, and then not only was he wealthy, he was helping the cause to help. You got people like him. I think about people who were in the background, who were part of history, but just are not talked about. Like people like him, who helped fund Martin Luther King to do certain things. He helped fund the people who helped fund the protests. A lot of that stuff wasn't cheap, and we see the little outskirts of it. And then, but we, but as far as the background details of people who are helping growing people, that's the thing that always got to me was that. So I got two other people I'm gonna talk about. So, and I appreciate you guys staying on as long as you have. So yeah, so we talked about a few people so far. We talked about Jesse Binga. We talked about Jesse Binga being the first black banker in Chicago. We talked about Madam C.J. Walker. We talked about Maggie Lena Walker, who owned who's the president of a bank, the first woman to do that. And we talked about Robert. We talked about Samuel T. Wilcox, who was a grocer. And we also talked about, of course, the legendary Booker T. Washington. And we talked about Arthur Gaston, was the interview that you just saw. Let's see. Yep. I hear you. Yeah, blacks should be everybody's history because blacks have done so much for this country that we still benefit from this day. Yeah, it's true. It's very true. I didn't even know that it was a black man that created a potato chip. He was mixed, but he was a black man. And I said, man, he created the potato chip. So I got to thank this guy. Listen, it's so many people, man. Right? And if somebody else is watching, hey, comment down below. And if you got somebody in Black history that you admire, put their name down. Like I said, as entrepreneurs, or if you know someone that's entrepreneur, we're all family. We're all trying to achieve success in the same goal. And one thing so far that all of these people had in common so far was the fact that, it wasn't just about them. It was about, they had to get successful. I noticed, though, that they had to be successful for themselves first, and then they had to go through and, help the other people and help make the difference in their lives. So, and then this is something, now this next person, now I've never heard of this person before, which is why I wanted to talk to, yeah, thank the Lord, got to create the chip. Let's see if I can find his picture real quick. Got to create the potato chip. Let's see if we can find his picture. You gotta give me just a second while we talking about him. Got me. I'm already hungry here. Now I'm talking about chips. Let's see. Name is Georgia Speck. Hey, my beautiful wifey walked in, y'all. So his name is Georgia Speck. So that's his name. His name is Georgia Speck. He was an American chef. He worked as a hunter, a guide, a cook, and so let's see, he was in the mountains. So yeah, because I remember reading about him. He's the one that helped invent the potato chip, and I think he did it by accident, if I'm not mistaken. So sometimes some inventions were by accident. So let me get back to this other person I want to talk about. Now this guy, and I think that guy was mixed. I think he was he was black and he's mixed with Latino, Mexican. I have to say, I have to look at it, but we'll go back to that. So this person is completely new to me, and this guy is not like in the mid 1800s, going into the early 1900s. This guy is just strictly in the 1800s. So let me see. Okay, this guy's name Tommy Lafon, if I said it right, Lafon. So this guy is brand spanking new to me. I've never heard of this guy before, and if you heard of this guy, please comment down below. But hey, this is what this is for. We want to talk about people who we just don't hear about every day. He was born in December 28th, in 1810. He was born in 1810. All right, and he died December. It's funny, he was born in December, he died in December. He died December 22nd in 1893. So this guy, he was also a business owner. So I'm gonna pull up my notes on him real quick. So with him, he was born, a free person of color in New Orleans. So he was the son of a Frenchman, and then a free woman of Haiti. So so it was like a black woman that was free, at the time, who was with a Frenchman and a descendant, and then he was born. His mother was a slave in Louisiana, like in New Orleans, and his father deserted the family, and when he was a young boy, and then so this guy was mixed, so he was a self-educate, he was self-educated. So basically, it's like he didn't really go to school. He didn't really go, do the traditional way. And the funny part is, the biggest billionaires in the world right now didn't really go to school. They kind of self-educated. And so by 1842, when he was 32 years old, he was listed in New Orleans city directory as a merchant. So in 1868, he began to build his fortune from real estate and business. So he was a fortune in so his fortune in 1870 was estimated to be 250,000, making him at the time the wealthiest African American in the nation. And this is in the mid 1800s. So again, no excuses. And I get that he's mixed, but at the same time, if you're considered black in any word of the sense, you're gonna have some issues. And then, like I said, but at the same time, no matter what, black or white, no matter the color, you're gonna have some issues and some struggles. But the important part is that you do not give up. That if you're an entrepreneur and you got a dream, you have to pursue it. And that's not just for you; it's for your family, it's for other people to see your example to go through. And then, and despite his wealth, he lived in like in a in a like a small house, and it has the address like 242 uh Utilized Street, if I say that correctly. So you know, he founded he founded a few different things. He had a home for aged colored men and women, um, and the Laughton Orphan and Boys Asylum. And he donated to different charities. So he's done a lot of different things. And then he was also active in politics during the Civil War. And he helped find the Friends and Universal Suffrage, interracial organizations committed to securing the vote for African American males. So so he was fighting for us to be able to vote. So so he had his contribution too. So he was a successful real estate broker, businessman. He basically accumulated like $500,000. You know, in that sum. And then the day he died was the day I told you was December 22nd in 1893. So he didn't make it to the 19th century, but he almost did. And then he's buried in New Orleans today, actually. So he's this is somebody else that you really don't hear about that often. This is somebody like him, who was born from, a French man and a slave woman who them themselves, you could say it's history, who said, we don't care about race, we love each other. And then that created him. And then he became a business owner, real estate. He's done a lot of different things, and then if, it's just somebody that you just really don't hear about. So I see. So hey, if you're watching, hey, comment down below. So feel free to comment down below. See, and then I got the last one. So her name is Sarah E. Goody. So if I said her name right. So she, this is a picture of her when she was younger, and then it's a picture of her when she was, when she, when she was older before she died. So Sarah E. Goody, she was born in 1855. I wasn't able to find a date. But she because it's so far back. But and then she died in April 1905. So she was an inventor. She's an entrepreneur and she's an inventor. And long story short, she was the first African woman to get a patent. So she was the very first woman to get a U.S. patent. So that was very unique to me. And then I didn't, I really didn't think of that being such a big thing, about patents, because in today it's just so standard where, we can go in and, get a patent, like I turned my business into an LLC, like you don't think about it that big until you really look back, especially, you're dealing in mid 1800s and the early 1900s. You know, that's something that's important. So let's see. I had some information about her as well. Oh yeah, and there was a small video before I talked a little bit more about her. There was a small video I was going to talk about with Tommy Laughton. I was going to play that for you before I forget. It was just one. It's like 1 minute long. You guys excuse me. Then we'll go back to Sarah Goody.
Grand Old Partisan celebrates more than 16 decades of Republican heroes and heroics. Today, I honor Tommy Lafon, born in New Orleans on December 28, 1810. Son of a white Frenchman and a free black woman, he was considered a free person of color. Starting with nothing, he invested in real estate with great success. By eve of secession, he was one of the city's wealthiest men. Lafon secretly donated to the American Anti-Slavery Society. During the Civil War, he prominently supported the Unionist state government established by the Lincoln administration. To secure voting rights for African Americans, he co-founded the Friends of Universal Suffrage and bankrolled the South's first black-owned newspaper. Peace restored, Lafon joined the Radical Republican Club. Throughout Reconstruction and for the rest of his life, he stayed active in the Louisiana GOP. He was the financial backer of the Plessy versus Ferguson legal case. He also established an orphanage and a home for the elderly poor, as well as supported hospitals, convents, and schools. His will distributed a fortune to various charities. Back to basics for the Republican Party is my civil rights history of the GOP. To quote the book, the more we Republicans know about the history of our party, the more the Democrats will worry about the future of theirs. For more information, see grandoldpartisan.com.
So yeah, that was a little bit more about him. So it's just, like I said, it's just amazing throughout all the history that we've gone through, and it's just amazing that so many people. But let's see. Now back to Sarah E. Goody. So I'm gonna read some notes here. So again, let's see. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, she was an entrepreneur and inventor. So Sarah E. Goody was one of the first African American women to receive. She was the first one to receive the U.S. patent. So she was born into slavery in 1850. It was either 1855. So it was like, so she was an inventor. So she was born into slavery. So she's dealing with slavery, being a black woman, because back then, it's just like, how they used to say, you watch one of these shows, barefoot pregnant in the kitchen, but that just wasn't her. She was so after receiving like her freedom at the end of the Civil War, she moved to Chicago, and then she eventually became an entrepreneur. So along with her husband, he was a carpenter. She owned a furniture store. So she actually owned a furniture store, and many of her customers, who were mostly working class, lived in small apartments, and then they didn't have much space for furniture, which included beds. So that you have a lot of people that are living in these, you especially look, I've never been to New York, but if you ever been to New York, and you see or a video of these studio apartments that are so small, especially you're gonna have that in Chicago too, so small, you step, to the left, you in a whole nother room. One step to the left, you're in a whole nother room. So that's how small these spaces are. They're extremely small. So, and then as a solution to the problem, she invented something called the cabinet bed. So it was a cabinet bed, so which she described as basically like a folding bed. So similar to what we have nowadays, which is called the Murphy bed. When the bed was not being used, it would so when it was not being used, it could be served as a roll top desk, which would with compartments and stationery with other writing supplies. So she invented that, and she had a patent on it. That way nobody can steal it. So that's why it's important to have patents as well. You don't want nobody to steal your work. But that was let's see if we can see a little picture of it, of her invention. So yeah, transfer into a bed. Let's see. There you go. So there you go. This is right here on the left. So yeah, it went from a bed to a desk. So that's real interesting. Lord knows I like saving space, and I like less junk in my apartment anyway. So I think this is another young picture of her, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, she made her contribution as well. And there's just a lot of people. Again, this is just like somebody else that you may hear about, but you just don't. They don't really talk about much that often. So, but yeah, you have people like that who made history. So, and if you're new and you're just now watching, comment down below. Let me know, because I'm about to close this out in just a second. But yeah, so when you see, all of these different people, the first black banker, the first, millionaire, first woman to become a millionaire. You have people, women who was the president of a bank. You have him, Robert Abbott, he was also an entrepreneur who started his own newspaper to help black people migrate to the north and help them, get the news they need, to help get the information they need to help them improve themselves. You had this guy was in the 1800s as well, who had his own grocery store, and he was making like $140,000, a year. That's, in today's money compared to the 1800s, that's like millions. So, and then you have the famous Booker T. Washington. You can't have a black entrepreneur webinar without bringing him up, because he's just that important and extremely intelligent man. He had this business owner. He helped with schools. He helped with travel agencies. He's helped start the National Negro Business League. He's done a lot of different things. You had Arthur Johnson, who helped people, with insurance. He's helped people have their own business. He's helped people. He helped Martin Luther King with the protest marches and helped fund it. And then you had like Tommy Lafon, who was who was a slave. Well, he wasn't a slave. He was a free man, but his dad was a white freshman, a Frenchman, and then his mom was a recently freed slave woman. And then he became an entrepreneur who helped black people be able to vote, be able to, he was against, racial discrimination. And then you got Sarah E. Goody, who was the first one to get a patent. So with that being said, don't, don't give up, don't, give in. Always be true to who you are, be strong, and don't ever give up. And then that's the main message here. So thank everybody for watching. So don't forget that we have our virtual pop-up shop that's going to be on the 12th. We have a few vendors already. We're looking to get a few more to help you grow your business. And then if you need a website built or you want to have a free business consulting session, feel free to email me right down here where it says ProfitCannon Marketing. I'll put my email down here. It's ProfitCannon Marketing at gmail.com. So I'll do that real quick, and then that's pretty much it. So does anybody have any questions or anything, or have any comments that they want to leave down below? All right, if not, I'll go ahead and I'll put my email down below. So you guys have a good day, and thank you for watching.